Welcome to BUNIYAAD podcast by Dr. Monica Nagpal. We did not inherit this world like this. Then how can we give this to our next generation in this form? We need to reflect mindfully on our core values and make conscious efforts towards protecting the planet and also achieve all sustainable development goals. With BUNIYAAD, I, Monica Nagpal, will bring to fore sustainability champions who are striving to bring back harmony with the nature and also dignity of each life. Namaskar, friends. We are in here today again for an episode on BUNIYAAD, laying the foundation for sustainable living. And today we have Hang Phan joining us from Vietnam. Welcome, Hang.
Good afternoon, Dr. Monica. It's nice to have a discussion today.
Wonderful. So, Hang is an executive coach. She's also a trainer and consultant. And now I would like Hang to introduce herself of her various things which she has done, what she's doing.
Yes, so thanks for the introduction. Yes, I am the executive coach and trainer and consultant, and I have my first background in architecture. So it doesn't seem like, right? But, that's how I started. So I always work in the construction sector for more than 20 years now. So with the first background is in architecture, and then after that I expanded to other areas such as business management. So I have MBA with the American University, and I study also R&D topic in Paris, and I dive also into marketing and so on. But then what I realized that what I like to do is because I always have to work with people. I always have a team and to develop team. So I realized that I like to work with people and help people to develop. And that's how I get into coaching and training.
Wow. So actually that is very familiar to me also. I also love to work with people. So important is that because people are the biggest resource. We look out to resources here and there, but I feel people are, humanity itself is the biggest resource that we have. And everybody is so resourceful. No,
Yeah.
so that is where we can actually help people to bring out their resources which they already have inside. So wonderfully stated, Hang. So now that we are on this forum of sustainability, I would like you to share with us that how did your sustainability journey start?
Yeah. So actually, it linked to the sector that I'm working on. Like I share, I always work in the construction sector, and then I learned that the environmental impact of the construction sector is among the highest. So, in details, construction sector is responsible for close to 40% of the carbon emission globally.
Hmm.
On top of that, we also um, consume about 37% of the energy use and virgin raw material used to produce the construction sector to produce the construction material also accounted for about 50% of the total raw material that we are using.
Hmm.
So knowing the huge impact of the construction sector, I feel like I need to contribute my part to make it more sustainable.
Yes.
So I start to engage in this topic since 2008.
Hmm.
Yeah. So by that time, I joined the Vietnam Green Building Council as
Mm-hmm.
a member.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I started this journey. So it has been more than 10 years, huh? Quite long.
Yeah, yeah.
15,
15
15 years
years.
already.
15
Yeah,
years,
15
yes.
years. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, because even sustainability development goals by UN were given in 2015. You started way back 2008. You have already started to think about this. So that's really amazing that how, uh, because people work in companies, but they never think about having the consequences on the society, or the people, also people who are working in their own companies. They will not even look at what is happening in their lives, and especially the laborers, construction labor is the people who are taking the burnt most when they are working with cement and all that. So this is really wonderful that you have that kind of insight, that compassionate heart, that you were able to really look into all of these matters and then started to think of sustainable means for the construction company. So, how do you think this, the way you started off, you have done a lot of certification in circular economy also. How do you think all of this has again impacted the society?
Mm, of course, everything linked. And since we talk about the SDG goals, so 17 goals of SDGs, they are all linked together. And you asked about circularity, how does it link in the big picture? It is actually the SDG number 12. It is about, yeah, the the
No,
efficiency, resource efficiency and circularity. So that is the
yes,
SDG number
yes.
12. And there's a strong link between this SDG and the carbon uh, CO2 emissions, because
Mm,
the less material we use, the less material we dig out from, we will use, the less energy we will use, and consequently the less carbon emission that we will emit.
right, right.
So normally there's a strong link between the circularity and the carbon emission target.
Right, right. So may I ask you here that, because not many people will be knowing about this concept itself, like what is the difference between a linear economy and a circular economy?
Okay, that's a good question. And that's where we should start with. So linear economy, if you can visualize a line, that's mean linear, right? So we start with by taking out the virgin raw material, and then we bring it to the plant to produce the wood, and then we use the wood, and then at the end of life we throw it away. So it's a
Hmm.
linear process,
Yes,
and when
yes.
you throw it away, it's end up at landfill or
Hmm.
incinerary. So basically the resources become waste, and
Right.
that's this linear process. So for circular economy, the idea is we run it in a circle, so waste become food. We
Yeah.
don't waste, but at the end of life it come back. But
Hmm.
it's not that simple, because many people would understand that circular economy meaning that you recycle all waste.
Hmm.
Actually, that is the last resources. That's the
Hmm.
last action that you can do.
Hmm.
Uh, the principle for the circular economy can be summary in a um, reverse the triangle.
Hmm.
By order, the first thing is you reduce the need. You question yourself before you buy something. You let's say you want to buy new shoes, new pair of shoes, or new car, or whatever. You question yourself if you really need it.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. And as for example, do you really need a car, or what you need is to go from A to B? So
Hmm.
are there different way to not owning a car but still can fulfill your need of going from A to B? So we talk
Yes.
about the share economy,
Yes.
like Grab or Uber, or the share economy when you don't, or public transportation that still
Hmm.
fulfill your need without owning the good. So that is reduce. So first
Yes.
principle is to reduce.
Right.
Uh, Question your need, and then reuse. You
Yeah.
use it, but then after a while you don't want to use it anymore, but your neighbor or poorer people, unfortunate people, they still need it, so you donate. So
Right.
reuse, or you can give it the second line, third line by upgrade or
Yes.
refurbish, and then uh, decompose, disintegrate it into the small parts so that you can use part for the different application. So that is
Right.
another way. So at the end, when you can't do anything about it, then you can
Recycle.
recycle.
Recycling.
Yeah,
Yes.
So
Yes.
recycle is not all circularity is not all about recycling, but many
Yeah.
people understand that circularity
Yes.
is about
Yes.
recycle. This is
Right.
the last. Yes.
Absolutely. What I understood, I will just recap for the audience also. So, recycle is circular economy does not mean recycle, because when we talk about cycle and we know it is cycle is a circular thing, so we think recycling is itself circular economy. But as Hang is very rightly said, that we start first from uh, going back to our own self and understanding that we do really need the whole thing or not. How many pair of shoes do we need? How many pair of clothes we need? How many almiras for that number of clothes you will need? So are we able to reduce the consumption? No, the consumer aspect, if you are thinking that because we are producing, we are also taking up. Once we stop using so many things, I always go back and tell this example, Hang, that when in our times, when we used to do coloring, we had a crayon box which had about 6 to 12 colors. And today in the market, a child when goes out, he will or she will get a crayon box which has 100 shades. So that is the kind of variety the children have got. No, so that is how we are starting to take more and more and more and consume more and more and more, right? So first thing is to understand the need. So reduce your need. That is most important. That how are you able to reduce your need? And then as we
Yeah.
go, yeah, so that is when we start with reducing our need. As we go further, we are able to then understand that as I am reducing my need, how is it going to impact the society? No, the producer will produce accordingly because there is no demand. When the product is
Yeah.
used
And
less, yeah, the environment will be, then the energy generation will be also reduced, because to make that product, less energy will be used because it is consumed less. So that is what the
yeah.
circular economy is all about. It is not only
Yeah.
about recycling. So we
Yeah.
recycle,
Exactly.
we upcycle. Sometimes we upcycle
Yeah.
and we are using the same thing to make a better product out of it. That also happens. A
Yeah.
lot of companies are doing that also. But
Yeah.
coming to
Exactly.
the construction part of it now, that you are into construction. So let us understand also that what kind of
Mm.
things can
How does it
be,
apply, right? How
yeah,
does it apply in the
yeah, how
construction
does
business, right?
sustainability can be applied in construction companies?
Yeah. So just talk about the circularity in construction. The first thing is instead of knock down the whole building, then the architect or the developer will need to think, can I renovate it? Can I refurbish it? Can I extend it? Can I keep the core of the building and just build up more from there instead of demolish everything?
Hmm.
So that is already start with reduce. And as a user, um, it seems like you have to control the need up to the level that it make you feel uncomfortable. But it's not
Mhm.
so, because here is also open the opportunity for the new business model. So we talk about the function of the product that we need. We don't
Hmm.
really need to own the product, but we need to use the function. So are
Hmm.
there different ways for the user to still have access to the function without owning the product? So that is the concept of the share economy. So come
Hmm.
back to your example of a kid with like hundreds of crayons and in different color. They like it because it's it give way to creativity. But how to, if every kid have such a big palette with 100 colors, so it's not sustainable. So are there a different way? 100
Hmm.
kids, each kid have one color, or just for
Yeah, yeah,
example, then
actually,
we share.
actually.
Yeah. Another example is the car. Everybody wants to have a car, and
Hmm.
the upper class, when they have money, they will have a car. But
Hmm.
then the statistics show that 93% the time the car will stay idle at the garage or at the
Hmm.
parking place. So only 7% of a lifetime of a car is for our use.
Use,
So
yes.
so do we need to pay 100% for the 7% of the time use? So that's another question we need to ask. And that's why the share economy become very popular today. You see like Airbnb and
Yeah,
Uber with all that.
right.
Even lighting, Philip Lighting, they also rent the type of light you want without owning the light itself. Or other businesses, they also give the access to the function without owning the product. So that's another
Yes.
example of how it applies. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. So now that we are also understanding in the construction itself, like using ACs, no, we use AC in the whole uh,
Yeah.
wherever the offices are. Too much of ACs are used. So how much of heat is generated because of
Mm.
the whole building is actually ACs, because the facade which they are using is the glass facade, which
Yeah.
becomes even hotter because of the glass,
Ah,
the sun
yeah.
coming out. And then
Mm.
because of that, more cooling is required because it is becoming
Yeah.
so. So
Mm.
those are the things in on the construction and the architectural viewpoint is what we can actually bring about the changes by the interior
Oh,
designers or whatever.
that, that is exactly what I'm doing on building the green certification. So each
Hmm.
country, you will have your own green building code. So in
Okay.
India, I believe that you have a lead India code. In Vietnam, we do have a Lotus, a green code. And this
Okay.
code will guide the architect and other stakeholder in the construction how to build the building in a sustainable way. So come back
Right.
to your example of having too much of air conditioning and having too much of glasses, and then you air conditioning and make it hotter, so the whole effect. Then we talk about natural ventilation,
Hmm.
passive design, so that you design that your building can still give the occupants the comfort while not using too much of the artificial lighting or air conditioning and so on. And instead of using a lot of uh, high embodied materials such as glass or steel or aluminum, we can use a local material and low embodied carbon material. So
Right.
all these, this is holistic approach in the building. We call it a holistic approach because it should start with the design, the
Yes.
overall design concept, building orientation, the shading, the ventilation and sunlight scheme and so on, up to the construction stage, and how to select the low embodied carbon material up to
Yes.
the end of life, how to reuse everything at the end of life. So these are normally will be considered in the local green building certification or green building code. So
Right.
by following this code, the stakeholder in the building sector will know how to build their building in a more sustainable way so that they can
Yes.
reduce their
Yes.
environmental footprint.
Yeah, so that is how the awareness which we are able to bring about because of this. Because one building comes up and the other building thinks, okay, my God, this person has so many lights, so many glasses, my building should have the same one. And that
Mm.
is how I have to compete. But then, if we are having such awareness regarding the sustainability of the whole building, how we have to get a certification and there will be a reporting done, a report will be made out of that, and then we are guiding them to be more sustainable in their way of construction in architecture and in interiors. I'm sure they will be able to comply on that. Because I just I think 4 or 5 months back we opened a very beautiful office of Apple in Mumbai here in India, and it has all the natural lighting. So it says that it is the sustainable kind of an interior and everything they have used here. So yeah, that is one example which is coming to my mind of a sustainable
Yeah,
ways used in the construction. So yeah, this is wonderful. We can go on this, but I now want you to share with us some practical tips for a lay person, for example. Like okay, people will who is not even going in construction, but they need to do something about their homes. So how do you
mm,
think you can guide on a very simple ways to have a very sustainable kind of a home in the construction work?
okay. So I will not talk about the construction only because we talk about other people. How can they be more sustainable? So first thing, we should know that everything we consume, everything we purchase, will have a environmental footprint. So first thing first, you measure your footprint. And today there are so many websites that is free website as well,
Yeah.
and that you can measure based on your lifestyle how much of the ton of carbon emission per year that you emit. And knowing that we all talk about net zero carbon by 2050, right? To achieve that, what does it mean for every person? Which means each of us is allowed to emit 2 tons of carbon emission per year. And what is our global average? Today, the global average is about 5-6 tons. So, which means we need to cut roughly 2/3 of what we are emitting today. So, where do we cut? There are 4 key sectors that every of us involve. Firstly, you stay in some building, so it's a building sector. So, what kind of house you are using? Is it a sustainable house? Do you use a lot of air conditioning? Are there a way that help you to reduce the energy consumption of your house? So that's first thing you can look at. Second thing, you transport every day. Everybody have a means of transportation. And you know that every transportation will have a different carbon footprint. Like if you use the private jet or the yacht, then your carbon footprint is a lot higher than me using bicycle. So do some calculation and you would know. And if you fly 3 times over the world or if from Mumbai to New York, to visit your family every quarter, then you would know how much, exactly how much you emit from transportation. So that's the second. The third is about eating. Every of us eat something. So do you eat vegetable or you eat beef or lamb or chicken? So each of these type of food will have a different carbon footprint. And I can say right now the biggest one is beef. So reduce
Absolutely. Beef
beef
is the
that
greatest source of
yeah,
methane which is coming
by
out.
far the biggest carbon emission type of food. So reduce the consumption of beef. And then the fourth one is about our consumption behavior. We always go buying things, and we talked about it earlier when we talk about circular economy. Then we apply the same for ourselves. Question ourselves whenever we go out: do you need to buy it? Do you really need to buy it? And if you really do need to buy something, you buy something more expensive and durable. Don't buy
Yes.
something cheap and then throw away every 3 months. You can
Yes.
buy a
Yes.
Rolex, but it lasts for a lifetime, and even to your children. But don't buy the cheap watch and then after 2 months you buy another one. It's not good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that is
Actually,
basically 4 sectors that every of us involve: building sector, transportation, eating, and
consumption.
consuming.
Yeah.
So think about, make a wise choice so that we can
Absolutely.
reduce the carbon footprint. Yeah.
This is amazing. You have brought everything to the core, and this is the core of our lives. So, if we are able to change, this is the core which we can change in our life on a daily basis. If we are able to do this, we are going to be a responsible citizen of the world who is contributing a little in the sustainable development goals. And our little contribution is much more required than any big company doing much. Every individual, if is trying to reduce their carbon emission even by a small extent, that is going to really help the world to be a better place. Yeah, so thank you so much, Hang. A last message, wise words from you for our audience.
Yeah, you have summarized nicely about what I just shared. And I also want to emphasize here that actually it is in our responsibility, each of us, to contribute our part to this net zero carbon future. If we do care for the futures, our own future and our children's future, because like I say, each of us have a quota to deliver 2 tons of carbon per person. So it
Yeah.
is the quota everybody. It's not your government. It's not the big companies, or it is not someone else's responsibility.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
every that need to deliver that target if we collectively want to have a sustainable world for our children.
Right, right. So it is not for us, it is for our children, the next generation, our successors, that we really have to work on this path. So it
For
was
us
really amazing.
too.
Yes,
For
yes.
us too.
For
Yeah.
us too. Yes, yes. Little difference will really help. Every drop counts. So
Yeah.
thank you, Hang. Thank you so much. It was so wonderful and very insightful to be having this conversation with you. And if the audience, if you really think this has really created value for you, please write your comments there and you can ask us about any question regarding the construction, sustainability in construction or circular economy. And if you think you are also working in any of these fields of sustainability, you are welcome to be my next guest on this Bunyad talk show. Thank you so much, Hang. Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Monica. Namaste.